welcome you to our daily Bible study. I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and today we're going to continue on in the 11th series entitled Positional Law. Today's lesson will be entitled The Meaning of Positional Law. When we talk about positional law or positional theology again can deal with proximal position, where one is positioned within a spatial point of reality in the physical world. It can deal with a minciological or a mental position. A mental position is where you have a specific thought or specific understanding of a thing. It can be the position in which you are in, which deals with an office spiritually or pneumatically. Are you a teacher? Are you a pastor? So forth and so on. Then it can deal with your rank in the army, or your rank within any type of standing or any type of legitimate field of operations. And so we know that in the army there are privates, there are sergeants, there are lieutenants, corporals, generals, etc. And so it can officially deal with the rank. And then when we talk about position, it can deal with your perspective. See, perspective is not necessarily what one has as far as a minciological or a mental understanding. Perspective can also be how you are positioned to see. Perspective can be literal with the physiology, or perspective can be with the mind, how the mind is in tune to see and to begin to unpack what it is experiencing by way of thoughts. Then there is a position in time. You can be locked in a position in time, literally, dealing with the physiology, where it is now, at this age, it's 2021. And so you can deal with many different things as far as it looks to be within time, 8 o'clock. Is it in the morning? Is it in the noonday? Eastern time, Central time? Is it daylight savings time? And so time, again, we have all of these unique meanings of positional law. And so when we deal with positional theology will bring us into the purview of understanding reality based upon the various positions. Positioning can also be positioning that deals with relational positioning. The scripture speaks of the throne of God, and it also speaks of the four beasts that surrounded the throne, the Tisara Zoan. Then it speaks of the 24 elders who are around the throne. And so position and positional theology can also deal with how you are interrelated with God. What is your connection to God? What is your relationship to God? Positional understanding or positional law can also talk about what is your position as far as in a spatial linkage, a spatial community. And so positions can invoke specific perspectives or specific unique perspectives of view. Positions can also instigate specific hearing. That's what we call sound integration. Positions can also invoke unique interrelational activities. Based on your position, it can determine how others see you, how they relate to you, how they link to you, and how they desire to forge a relationship. And so positional law then will determine time and what you should do within that time. It will determine spatial reality. Where are you located on the sphere? Remember, even prophets had unique responsibilities to specific arenas or areas, because a prophet was not just called to go to any and every place he chose. He had a station and he had a rotation where he was responsible for prophesying and teaching and leading specific people. It can deal with, again, perspectivism. Perspectivism can be unique in relational things or relationship. Perspective can be sight of view, how you line things up to formulate information, and how your information generally is formed based upon your perspective, what you see. What you see brings in a sight of view where you begin to utilize the information to calculate what should be done, what you are seeing, and to make sense of it. Also, perspectivism deals with what we call sound integration. What one says is not always what one hears, and that's why the scripture tells us, he that hath an ear, hear what the Spirit saith to the church. I have three things that I always tell my students, and I think these three things are very important as it relates to understanding any phenomenon or the phenomenon of activity or interaction. The first one is hear what's being said, see what's being done, and ask more questions of the text. The reason I say this is because each of these will help you to become more comprehensively understanding, or more comprehensively in a point where you now can build from the true foundation that has been given. If we see something, but it's not really what's going on, that's an illusion, or it's a faulty perspective. Our line of view enables us to see something that may not be the truth. And then, as you hear something, sometimes we read more into it because of catchphrases. And these phrases from our past then cause us to consider what others have said in the way they've said it, simply because of a word that we misinterpret, read more into, or assume. And sometimes we utilize tones, and sometimes tones can be used and rightly divided, but sometimes tones are not. And that's because, again, when we speak of philosophical hermeneutics, the foundation of all reality, the foundation of all utterance, all communication, the foundation of understanding all phenomena. Communication is a phenomenon. Interrelationships are phenomena. And so I notice in today's world, it's not how it was meant, but the laws have even shifted to it's how a person perceives. And so their perception or their perspective then begins to frame truth and reality, when in reality an individual may not have been doing anything mischievous or out of the way if we understood their intention. And so philosophical hermeneutics is all about getting the right interpretation, understanding what has been said, understanding what has been done. And so the meaning of positional law is interpretation of our position, interpreting it to the point where we now can begin to understand what is the interaction that we should be taking. What is our position within the law or the scope of reality? What is our position during time? What is our position in the interrelatedness of those that we are relating with? What is our position prospectively? Is it lined up to the original, the solid or the foundational perspective where truth should be based upon? Our sound integration perspective. Are we hearing what has been said? Are we seeing what has actually been done? And do we ask more questions of the text to discover if what we've been seeing can be quantified to a greater degree to gain more understanding. I thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this has been our daily Bible study. Join us next time. God bless you.